Hello, today we are going to install the VNC server TigerVNC on Windows. This is a Windows 11 Pro virtual machine. This is the official TigerVNC website. Downloads, GitHub releases. Latest release 1.15.0 says that the binary files are on SourceForge. And then the description of each individual file is below. We're after the TigerVNC 64 installer for x86 version of the TigerVNC server. So TigerVNC 64 minus WinVNC. This guy. The installer finished installing. Let's see. So TigerVNC WinVNC, double click. It says that it's not digitally signed probably. Let's see if that's the case. Digital signatures. Certain. I don't know. The digital signature seems okay to me. It says that it's okay. Run anyway. Elevate as administrator. May not function correctly. Next. Accept the EULA. Next. Register TigerVNC server. Restart the service. Okay. Install. Finish. So I have restarted the Windows machine. Let's now look a bit at some instructions. So on the TigerVNC release page. So TigerVNC homepage, GitHub release page. And in here we have the wiki. This is the TigerVNC wiki. The first link in here is how to set up TigerVNC server on Windows. Let's open that. So support for Windows Server does not really exist since 2020, but still the Windows Server continues to work correctly. So not much development has been done, but it still works correctly. In here, there's talk about private network in the sense of the Windows Advanced Firewall. Because this is a virtual machine, it's not exposed to the internet. It's behind the network and address translation. I have just disabled the advanced Windows Firewall. So all 3 profiles, domain, private, and public, put them on off, all 3. And then let's see what it says. We should install, we did. We should restart the computer, we did. And then in the system tray, there's a TigerVNC icon. If you click the up arrow to show more tasks. So this arrow, this is the TigerVNC icon. Right click. And then options. And then in the group box authentication, in here, it says that we should choose the configure button. So this button, and we type a password. If the password is longer than 8 characters, just the first 8 characters are being considered. Okay, apply. Let's restart once more, just in case. So we have installed the TigerVNC Windows Server that has registered with the Windows Service Control Manager a Windows service for TigerVNC. we have configured a password when we want to connect to the TigerVNC VNC server. We are going to be asked this long password. The computer is starting, no need to even log in graphically. The only thing that we really need is to fetch the IPv4 address of the Windows 11 Pro virtual machine. And then we can use any VNC server. So this computer is running Linux, Ubuntu 24.10. I have the TigerVNC deb client installed. The executable is called VNC viewer. And then we just give as command line parameter the IPv4 address of the Windows virtual machine. Asks for the password. And then we're at the lock screen of Windows because we're locked out. So on Windows, we're not presented with something similar to the remote desktop session. Instead, we're presented with the session that's visible on the monitor of the Windows computer. When you connect remotely in graphical user interface mode to a computer, there's two ways of computing. The way that, in this case, the TigerVNC VNC server works, and the way that other commercial software works, such as TeamViewer. So the exact same image that's presented on the real hardware of the computer, so that's presented on the monitor, will also be presented in to the TigerVNC client. And it's also presented to the TeamViewer client. That's one way of doing it. I actually prefer the other way, the remote desktop protocol way, where the session that's the graphical user interface session that's displayed on the monitor is one thing, and the session when you connect remotely using the remote desktop protocol to Windows, to a Windows machine, is a totally different session. On Windows, you cannot have two sessions running at the same time, so the physical session will be logged out, the one that's running on the physical monitor, and a new RDP session is going to be created. But that's me. That's what I prefer. For instance, if I connect remotely, I do not want anybody else to be able to look at my monitor, to start my monitor and look and see what I'm doing there. I don't see that many advantages of using the physical graphical user interface connection versus using a totally different remote desktop protocol style graphical user interface session. Okay, let's see the features that we have here. If we restart the VNC server, the physical resolution, the resolution on the physical monitor display of Windows will not change. Let's see if copy paste of text works. What will we do? Let's start Notepad. Wow, and the refresh rate is really not okay. So test. So copy paste of text from the VNC server towards the VNC client does work. And from the VNC client to the VNC server also works. So copy paste of text bidirectionally works correctly. Okay, let's see if we get the features which are missing, which is one, when we resize TigerVNC, the Windows resolution will change, or maybe we just use the Windows control panel to change the resolution. And then let's see if this very slow refresh rate can be improved. In the wiki page, I can see really old articles about the desktop size, which is a VNC verb. It's a research from 2016 about how various VNC clients and servers handle this thing. After I have resized the VNC client window, I can see that the server was being asked to set the desktop size. So the TigerVNC VNC client talked to the TigerVNC VNC server on Windows and asked that the desktop size be resized, but this feature probably is not implemented in Windows. So the way to do it is probably to try to change the display settings in Windows to something that's better for your situation. Okay, and then let's see if something can be done with this too low refresh rate, which for me as a developer, I could not use development tools with such a low speed of refreshing. The menus appear extremely delayed from the moment that I click anywhere. I couldn't improve the speed of refresh. Anything that's configurable in any of the in graphical user interface mode for both the VNC server or the VNC client. I tried absolutely everything. Nothing seems to work. So there's two control dialogues in here. One is called the control panel, which is about sessions. For instance, you can kill all of the clients or switch the clients to view only mode. This is a VNC client. Let's kill all clients. And now the list of sessions, the list of VNC connections to the VNC server is empty. You can temporarily not allow the VNC server to accept more VNC connections. For instance, if you do a maintenance period, and then the other dialog is right-click on the TigerVNC server icon in the system tray, and then options. In here, the settings which seem to be related to latency and speed of the VNC connection are probably you disabling any type of encryption. So I've disabled anonymous TLS. It didn't help. Then at inputs, I could disable the local inputs, so the inputs on the keyboard, on the physical keyboard. That this also doesn't seem to help. Polling for changes. I don't know, maybe this one, VNC hooks. Let's try this one. Let's reconnect. I know the speed is really bad. So probably the thing is that development did not take place in the last 5 years for the VNC server part of TigerVNC, although the TigerVNC VNC server for Windows is still offered as a binary offer. So there's installers for 64-bit Windows, 32-bit Windows, standalone executable servers. But at least in this very simplest case where we have just a virtual machine and a hardware computer, connecting between these via VNC, if the support for VNC server on Windows would be maintained, this is a top call generator. This is the most important issue to fix, or at least to very prominently document via the installer wizard pages, for instance. Like, I know the final installer wizard page of TigerVNC VNC server should say something like, if you want bearable performance, you should do the following 3 changes. If by default those changes are not applied. But again, by default the speed should be great, because it's great using many other graphical user interface remote connection technologies. I disabled remote wallpaper. I enabled remove wallpaper, so this also helps with speed, improving the speed, and disable user interface effects, which is a setting which existed in Windows XP, for instance. The settings was hidden in here. Performance. So in here, in the system properties dialog, the Windows dialog, the Windows window where you change the computer name and you join it to a domain, and the one where you enable remote desktop protocol, and where you set environment variables for the current user and for the entire computer. In here, there's the advanced tab and the user profiles group box, the performance group box. Click on settings, and then you go adjust for best performance. The third radio button, apply. Let's see if this improves anything. Nope. No improvement. So these are the places on the server, on the VNC server, where you can change the settings of the TigerVNC VNC server in graphical user interface mode, so you don't need to actually edit by hand any text files. There's graphical user interfaces, so this guy and this guy. And then on the VNC client, you also have things which are provided by the TigerVNC VNC client. That's a menu hidden behind the F8 keyboard key. So press the F8 keyboard key. This is the menu from the TigerVNC client. Connection info. So says that connection encoding is tight. The speed is 19 megabit per second. That's way more than enough for passing JPEGs around. And the resolution is really small. So that's 800 pixels by 2080. The TCP port is the one for session 0, so 5900. And it's not plain text. F8 again. Options. So in here you could you can see the features that exist in the VNC client. The VNC client, when connecting to the VNC server, will perform negotiation, will say, do you have plain text encoding? The server will say no. Do you have TLS encoding? The server will say yes. Then it will pass it will use the pair of certificates. So that's for encryption. There's also different ways of authenticating. You can disable the F8 menu in the VNC viewer, in the VNC client application, or you can change it to something else. Escape scroll lock. Scroll lock, yeah, scroll lock sounds okay. Let's see. Scroll lock is better than F8. I use a Orthodox file manager, Total Commander, Midnight Commander, Crusader, these things, the twin pane file managers, and in there F8 is delete the selected files or directories. Minimize resize to Windows session. This is the option. If you resize the VNC client window and you select resize window to session, the TigerVNC VNC client window will be shrinked back to the actual size of the Windows desktop, actual resolution of the Windows desktop. And option for full screen. If you just close the VNC client window, not much happens because, again, we're connected to the default graphical user interface session in Windows, which is usually connected to the hardware monitor, the hardware display of the computer or of the laptop, and to the hardware mouse and keyboard. So just the fact that we're not connected any longer to that session doesn't mean that the session is being locked or logged out. So this is it. This is how to install the TigerVNC VNC server on Windows. This is the performance that I get. The TigerVNC project actually suggests that you use a TigerVNC client when connected to the TigerVNC server, which is exactly what we're doing here. So the exact same provider for both the VNC client and the VNC server, which is TigerVNC. But then maybe because the improvements on the TigerVNC server for Windows didn't really happen for a number of years, the default out-of-the-box performance is not okay. So not acceptable for my use case. Thank you.